when doctors talk about cholesterol problems, they are more typically referring to the ratio between LDL and HDL. The LDL to HDL ratio is much more important. Because we can imagine there's some natural point to this. There should be some delivery trucks out. There should be some delivery trucks returning home. It should be homeostatic. But if we are manufacturing way too much cholesterol, the ratio would go out of whack. It's not that LDL is bad. It's that when you have 1,000 LDL for every 1 HDL, or wherever the point is, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't want to try to deceive you in that. There are real values you can look up. But at some unbalanced point, you're getting this problem where you have lots of delivery trucks out, and none of the houses need deliveries. And so what happens is even on the return route, you have big LDL particles. They're just kind of stuck circulating in the blood. And if you have your comically overburdened mule, he's going to tip over at some point. And that cargo is going to spill out and form a plaque on the blood vessel wall, narrowing the blood vessel, cutting off the flow of nutrients to that tissue, causing can someone say that word, sclerosis? Thank you. That. I can never say that word for whatever reason. And causing a whole bunch of other problems until you're like getting stents put in when you're only like 32. That's bad, right? So, this is a well-identified relationship. You need both LDL and HDL, but it's when there's an excess of LDL that you get all sorts of heart problems and cardiovascular problems and stuff. So here's where scientists made an oopsie. Oopsie daisy. We knew that high levels of circulating cholesterol in the blood are very bad for you, that LDL to HDL ratio. And so a whole generation, actually probably 2 generations, got told, don't eat foods high in cholesterol. However, the link between dietary cholesterol and circulating cholesterol was never even investigated. And it turns out they have almost nothing to do with each other. We just assumed that if you ate cholesterol, it would end up in your blood. But it turns out we have these things called stomachs with bile acids that break down cholesterol. When you eat cholesterol, it's broken down in your stomach, and none of it almost reaches your blood. So what is causing high blood cholesterol? It turns out when you have too much sugar in your diet, your liver stores that metabolic energy as cholesterol. If you want to lower your blood cholesterol, eat less sugar, eat all the egg yolks you want. Danger of science. It just made sense, right? Blood cholesterol is bad. Cut cholesterol out of your diet. But we never actually asked, does dietary cholesterol increase circulating cholesterol? And the answer is not really. There's a lot of good studies now that show not really at all. Which helps, by the way, to explain the American, or the French diet paradox. Has anyone heard of this? The French diet paradox? Where they eat hollandaise sauce and goose liver stuffed with butter, and yet have a much lower incidence of heart disease than Americans do. Dietary fat doesn't lead to circulating fat. Dietary sugar leads to circulating fat. And Americans, again, as I continue to harp, eat a ton of sugar. Nothing really. I just wanted to be dramatic. I love me some deviled eggs. And I make a mean deviled egg. The secret is Louisiana garlic sauce. Just a little bit. Cajun garlic sauce. Okay, so what I want to summarize from that, what do we want to care about, is that cholesterol has important roles to play. Blood circulating levels of cholesterol can be a big health issue we should be aware of. But I think it illustrates a parable of science of we can't take things for granted. We can't take the link between dietary cholesterol and circulating cholesterol for granted. We can't even take the link between cholesterol synthesis in the liver, and LDL levels for granted. Maybe there's some other mechanism going on. If you want to be a scientist, if you want to build that case, you need to investigate every step of the way, improve every step of the way. And this is why science is so important to be collaborative and interdisciplinary, because no one has the expertise to answer every question in a pathway. You have to learn to read other sources and trust other sources and find those steps along the way. Find your missing links and you know, sort that out. So, good stuff there. Here's good news, bad news. Ready for good news? We're basically done with lipids. Ready for bad news?
Yeah.
There's lots of cool stuff about membrane potentials and how nerves work that we're just not going to have time to do. I'd be happy to do it during office hours or a review session, or if we magically get through everything, we'll do it at the end of the semester. But the rest of this lecture, we're going to skip. Because there's core stuff I really need you to get through, and we're not going to get there otherwise. So, good news, bad news. We're going to be done with lipids. With the minute or two we have left, I want to do the little introduction to remind us about what is high sugar. So, current semi-reasonable nutritional guidelines say that most people should probably have about 50 grams of dietary sugars a day. 50 to 60 maybe. The average American eats 95 to 110 grams. Some have more. Remember, this is average. That means there's people above that. So guidelines, which probably are even too generous, suggest about 50 grams. Most Americans are eating at least double that. And so here's a good example. An 8-ounce Coke has something like 25 grams. A banana has something like 20 grams. So if you eat a banana and a Coke and 2 Cokes in the day, you're already over your sugar. A venti frappuccino often has 65 grams. Fruits are not included in a lot of dietary recommendations by the USDA. I disagree. Frankly, sugar is molecularly sugar. There's fiber that causes it to be processed slower, but it's still sugar. Well, again, I'm not a licensed, registered dietitian, so don't, whatever. But I just want to point out, it is really easy in America to eat a whole bunch of sugar. I spent about 7 years tracking every calorie I ate. I use an app, MyFitnessPal, and I spent about 7 years tracking every single calorie. I mean, I still am, I guess, tracking every single calorie I ate. By the way, I currently average about 1850 a day. That's sustainable for me. I slowly gain weight at 1850. And then I go on some horrible, I'm not going to eat it all and drop back down. I try. I'm someone who cares. I try. I still average about 60 to 70 grams of sugar a day. It's so hard in America to avoid sugar.
But you're including your fruit and stuff too?
Yeah. Yeah, totally dietary. Total dietary sugar. But it's still so hard. But I don't eat a lot of fruit because fruit's gross. But I just grew up not eating fruit and I never got the taste for it. But anyway, we're going to be talking a lot about dietary stuff as we move forward. Thank you for your time and energy. You guys